This is a new day to try to get right. This is a new day to get on track. Yeah, that's life in football. This is a new day to live your life. This is a new day to try to get right. This is a new day to get on track. Yeah, that's life in football. It's life in football. We are life in football.
You are now listening to the Life in Football podcast. Check out the new website, lifeinfootball.com. Once again, the website is lifeinfootball.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Life in Football podcast, baby. I'm your host, Mike Feed.
And this your co-host, Cole and Moore. You know we loving life and enjoying football.
We got a legendary player from the Bethune Cookman Wildcats on today, and he's a hometown hero as well. And I played football with him in high school. He goes by the name of Phillip Kirkland. And let me tell y'all something, man. This a guy I think is underrated for us in the Gadsden County history book. I see him as a legend. Let me tell y'all something. This guy, Phillip Kirkland, when he first popped up on the scene where we really recognized he was a top-notch baller, and this for all the young athletes out there, you got to stay consistent. We out there in the scrimmage one day, and he tearing up the scene. Now, my senior year, our practices were like a game. So he out there balling on the third team defense, and he was in the 10th grade, y'all. So that say a whole lot. Phillip Kirkland also ran track. He was a top-notch sprinter. He ran track at high school. He graduated from East Gadsden, so he was in that transition from Shanks to East Gadsden. He ran track, was a sprinter, getting up out of there. He also was a top-notch baller with them Wildcats at Bethune Cookman. He wore number 82, played for Coach Shine, and he did his thing. Also, he had an opportunity with the New York Jets. Man, I got so much in store for y'all today. But without further ado, I'm going to quit talking and let C-Mo bring him on.
How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Can't complain. Appreciate it for having me on the show.
Hey, man, it's a blessing to have you on, man. So I'm going to get right with it, man. How was it playing with old Mike Figs in high school?
Well, playing with Mike Figg, man, like he said, like I tell everybody else, my 10th grade year was kind of different from everybody else because I didn't play my 9th grade year. All my classmates played 9th grade. I sat out because I was the freshman. I was a nerd too, so I got to see how this thing go. Got to get these A's first, and then I go out there in the spring. So going into spring and stuff like that, 10th grade, just going out there to play football with these boys. I already had the mindset that I'm not playing JV, so I already had a mission. And we practiced on the top, by the football field, and they practiced in the bottom because through the bushes and all this other stuff. Had a old practice field down there in the bottom. So, used to watch them play, practice and stuff. Like you said, grown men, Sid Fisher, Cody Fad, John, these boys like grown men. This is my first time seeing like this kind of action, you know what I'm saying? Like face to face. Like like I said, yeah, Mike Figg, you had goddamn gone
Amp Battle.
Said Official, Amp Battles, his brother Robert Battles,
Meat Horn.
These boys, I'm telling you, these boys, like when I tell you laying the wood, oh my God, it was crazy. So I mean, I wasn't nervous going with them, but practicing with them was like every day. Like you said, it was a football game. Like a lot of trash talking. Meat Horn coming down laying the wood from safety. You got Mike Figg. All these and these boys fast. I mean, it's dust shooting up everywhere. It's like the Wild Wild West down there. I'm just like, man, I'm like the youngest person down here. Everybody else like juniors, seniors. I'm like, these boys hungry. These boys trying to get something. I don't know what I just stepped myself into, but I can't wait to get my hands on some of this. This action, this live. Like if I can survive here, I'm pretty sure I can survive anywhere. So that what kind of atmosphere it was down there in the hole with them boys, man. It was fun. There's a lot of intensity, a lot of hard-nosed football going on. You know, it was like sandlot football with pads. That's how I seen it.
Out there
So
getting
yeah,
it. Now,
yeah, man.
when did you know that you was D1? Like, man, I'm D1. I could play at this level, man. I know I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna sign the scholarship and do my thing. When did you figure that out?
Man. So my approach was a little different. Like I said, I didn't play my ninth grade yet. I sat out because, coming up, I was a nerd. So I already knew I was going to do engineering anyway. So football wasn't like a first priority in line. I kind of started doing it because, getting off the bus, my friends, they was going playing sports and stuff. So at the rec, I didn't have nobody to come home and play with. So I was like, where everybody at? Everybody at the recreation department playing t-ball, baseball, football, basketball, all these other things. So I just jumped in there. I knew these guys because I played with them in Sandlot. So I was like, I can do this too. So go out there and play with them just to have fun, have something to do. And to be honest, I didn't even think about athletic scholarship. It never dawned on me that you could even get an athletic scholarship because I was in the mindset because I was on the track of getting an academic scholarship. So I was always good. Like that's why I was like always on top of my grades, making all A's and stuff like that. Because I ended up graduating with a 4.12 GPA, made a 27 on the ACT my senior year, and made 226 as my junior year. So I would say I could have went anywhere academically that I wanted. But the thing was, I got on board with them boys down on varsity at Shanks. I see Cody and all these boys. Like we have athletes everywhere. Like everybody is like primed to try to get scholarships. Then you have Mickey Baker. He was a junior, and everybody had eyes on him and stuff too. So I was like, man, I didn't even know. To after Cody ended up signing to Florida State and all. You got Mike Field, Alabama, and all this other stuff, and everybody else, went off and did their thing. I was like, man, you get. I was kind of dumbfounded. I was like, oh, it makes sense. That's all these boys playing all these, at UM and Florida State. I was like, I never knew that, maybe they just got a football scholarship. They didn't get an academic scholarship. They got a football scholarship. So as I started playing, I already knew I had the confidence that, okay, I can play. So going into, like I said, spring football and playing against the number one defense at Shanks at the time, like I had no fear, going against them boys. Like I seen them all the time. They human, and I felt I was good in my skin and understood how to play ball. And I just felt like I could play. I was just as good as Cody outside of the experience. I can catch like him. He was a little faster than me at the time. But other than that, I felt like I was on his like a notch below his level. So I was like, okay, I can do this too. So I just kept at it. I kept my grades up because, like I said, football wasn't my ultimate thing. It was fun to do. It allowed me to get my aggressive side out, my competitive nature out, and stuff like that. So up until like my senior year, that came around. I went to Auburn football camp hosted by Tommy Tuberville the year that they came off their undefeated year with Cadillac Williams, Ronnie Brown, all these boys, Anthony Mitts, Jason Campbell. They had like 5 or 6 first rounders that year. So they had a scholarship for me. Alabama and Auburn, they offered me a scholarship to play cornerback. So I always knew I can play sports. That was never a thing like I can play a sport. But the thing that dawned on me was, okay, I can go to this PWI, but then I kind of like the day before my signing day, I was looking at it as, okay, what makes these PWIs great? And I looked at the teams, the landscape, the Miamis, the Ohio States, USC's, seeing all them and come to the realization, like, some players like D1 players, and it was, there's black athletes come from small places like mine, some coming from like single family homes. So I was like, okay, that's why they look so good because athletes like us go there. So I was like, let me take my talents to HBCU. So I ended up going to Bethune Cookman, and that was all she wrote.
Now, Phillip, I always wonder how you ended up at Bethune Cookman, man. So that was a good breakdown because y'all, I'm telling y'all, man, this guy exploded on the scene. And for the people who gonna hear this and may think, oh, he was saying he was right behind Dakota, because a lot of people gonna know Dakota Fair because he played at Florida
Yeah.
State. I'm gonna speak for him. He not lying. He was right up on him, really, because we got to see him like at first. Boom, he dropping a few passes here and there. And out of nowhere, it's like he grew up to a monster. He came in because like you get to see the patterns of people and you get to see them grow at the same time when you playing this game of football. So as when Phillip first come in, we see him, and I'm telling you, it was a constant growth into the person he became for balling out of control. And I'm telling y'all, we seen it like in it live in action. And he ain't lying, because we were trying to put that beam and put that hat on that head. And I'm telling you, he grew up right in front of our face, and he was out there balling right along with us. And I mean, he was somebody our team we could count on. Now, Phillip, let's get into your life story, man, and kind of let the people know your background, because a lot of a lot of fathers out here, affect lives and do things for their kids. But let me tell y'all something, man. This man daddy was at all the practices. His daddy was like a legend for just always being around the game of football. He still is to this day.
Yep.
I see him out there on FAMU sideline.
Yep.
So, Phillip, just kind of break it down to everybody, like how it was for you growing up and your family.
Man, so I came from a two-parent household. My dad did all the work. He worked a long time until he got his accident, like my fourth grade year. My mom, she didn't work up until this time. So he basically was the sole breadwinner of the house. My mom, she dropped out in the 10th grade, so she ended up getting her GED night school while I was in elementary school. I just remember her getting on that bus to go out there to, I think it was GTI, something like that at the time. But she used to get on that bus and go get her night school, and finally got her GED and stuff like that. So she started working. But my daddy was always in record, like he was like Coach Hollywood is what they called him. Like he was already, he had the championships in recreation and stuff like that, back-to-back championships with the midget league down in recreation down in Quincy. And just having him and being around him before I even played football recreation wise, just watching him going to the practices with Bert and all those boys. I mean, I actually got a chance to see y'all out there too. So I've seen a lot of people, Marun, God bless his soul. Like I've seen all these guys coming up. I knew about Cody, just by going out there and watching these guys play. So he was always a coach. So he football, the Pop Warner League, which is like the young kids. I think went up to about 10 or 11. So that's the first time I started playing. So up in recreation, I played quarterback, and he was my coach my second year when I went to the midget league. That was my seventh grade year. So he was my coach. I played quarterback up until this time. And in my eighth grade year, I ended up going to play at Carter Pellmore with Coach Green. I went out there kind of late. So, he was asking me, what position he wanted me to play. And he was like, well, I need a tight end because all my passes go to the tight end and stuff like that. I'm like, listen, I can play whatever you want me to play. So I went from the conversion of quarterback to tight end, hand in the dirt, then sat out. My daddy, he's still coaching me. The worst thing ever, having your dad coach you as an athlete, taking you out early mornings, practicing and, teaching you all the footwork drills and, catching the ball. He's like, he's not your dad no more. He's your coach type thing. The hardest thing ever to have, come home, getting in arguments. My mom have to, oh, y'all calm down. It's practice. Y'all arguing about practice and stuff like that. So it was like a push and pull type thing, relationship. But, I love him to death for it. And even when I, ended up going to Shanks, East Gadsden, he was still there coaching. Even to this day, he always nagged me about, why I didn't never go back to even try to play professionally when I just called it quits, to start doing my engineering thing. So he was always a constant pillar. Like Mike Fitz said, he was always at all the games, no matter what, he was there. He never really cheered. I look at the sideline, he never was one of those parents that's like up, oh, that's my son. And, he was just quiet. You just look at him, he's just quiet and stuff like that. So it was just one of those things where he was a silent killer. And to this day, he's still coaching. He's on the sideline with FAMU coaching with the rest of everybody. So it's all good.
Now, Phillip, I gotta know, how was it, man, for you playing at Bethune Cookman under Coach Shine, and that your whole experience there, man. How was it for you? Because I'm gonna tell you something. I was at one of your games one time. Y'all was playing the Classic.
Mhm.
See, for anybody who may not know, Alabama State, we got something called the Turkey Day Classic,
Mhm.
which is Thanksgiving weekend. So that week before that weekend, they give us that weekend off. So I would come home and go down and watch the Florida Classic. And so, man, I'm down there watching the Classic. I think that was 2000,
Was it 2008?
2007.
Mhm.
And I get to see you, just kind of being out there on the field. But man, I was so proud to just see you, just out there, even walking around and just seeing you down there on that field, man. So how was that for you playing at Bethune Cookman?
Man, it was kind of it was different. I mean, outside the fact that I didn't ever get outside of my visits to these PWIs, I didn't get a chance to like interact with them on the practice and going to school level. But at Cookman, it was close knit community, so HBCU. So everything that comes with HBCU, with the camaraderie, the rivalry games, like you said, the Florida Classic, you got the Howard games, all this other stuff. So it's a constant, clout, constant battle, type thing. So I mean, to be honest, when I first got there, Coach White, him and himself, like his character, he's like the best motivator ever. Like I never ran into a person that can motivate you. Like, I mean, literally can get you to run through a wall with just his speeches alone. And just like the way he carried himself, he's always like you seen him dressed up, always classy. He was like that at practice, you know. Man, I gotta give you a story. So one day we was at practice, and after practice, the coach talked to you and stuff like that as a team before we take a prayer and stuff like that before we get out of there and break it down. He talking, and he's standing in an ant bed, and he used to always wear like these snake skin cowboy boots or alligator cowboy boots, like So he's standing in this ant pile. We're like, hey man, hey coach, you standing in the ant pile, and he look at him, and the ants is all in his boot. He ain't even move. He's just like, oh, they ain't gonna do nothing tomorrow. You see these gators on? Yeah, they'll go ahead and eat them ants. He just stood in the ants, like, no problem. Like he was that kind of person, like his enthusiasm, like he was just the funniest thing ever. But his practices down at Daytona Beach was the worst type of practices. Like after every practice, full gear or whatever we had, we ran sprints. We ran 40-yard sprints. They'll start off with 10s and 20s and 30s and 40s. Sometimes we'll go longer. And a lot of people used to always say, "Oh yeah, it feel like we run track. We're not on the football team." Because his thing was, you got to be in better shape than anybody else because we're gonna run and run and run again. So on the average, we used to run like 60 to 80 40-yard sprints, and that's just the 40-yard sprint. It's not even including the 10s, the 20s, and the 30s, full gear. One time we ended up breaking a record for our team. We ended up running as a whole, each group, we ended up running at least 140-yard sprints. That's not even including the ones that turned into suicides because of either somebody was walking or he felt like the lack of effort was there. But my freshman year, I tell anybody that was my roughest year. That was the roughest camp ever because now you actually playing with grown-ups, seniors, stuff like that. They already know what to look forward to, and you come into camp and you run all these 40s. And now I'm like, yeah, I made the wrong decision. Like this, all these 40s, because I'm in great shape. I ran track and I ran all day, but this kind of running was different. Like I literally that camp, my freshman year camp, I thought about just quitting and just going to an Ivy League school, taking my academic scholarship somewhere because I was like this, yeah, this can't be real. I can't be out here running. But outside of that, after I made it through. That was a great experience, Sat on the bench for the first 2 years because I sat behind this guy, Eric Weems. He was a long time NFL player. I think he played around like 8 to 9 seasons with the Falcons, most of his seasons, and he ended up going to the Pro Bowl with them. Then he went to Chicago and back to the Falcons and stuff like that. But um, I was, watching him, play behind him for a long time. So there was a lot of frustration going in for those first 2 years. But after that, I burst on the scene again and, it's fun. So it was like my own home. I brought Quincy to Daytona Beach and that was history.
Now, you got me so intrigued on you weren't even studying football like that all the way pretty much going through because you already knew you wanted to be an engineer. So when did you know? Because that's great that you already knew in high school that you wanted to be an engineer. But when did you officially, I guess in high school you knew, but when did you truly, truly know that engineering was going to be your route in life?
Well, so engineering, I made that decision like elementary school. I found out what engineering was, and like, oh yeah, because first it was going to be architectural engineering. But then I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to do something with computers. I want to do computer or electronics, something like that, electrical. So high school, I end up making that final decision. I was in this guy, Mr. Williams. He taught an elective called electronics. He taught electronics 1 and 2. Um, and getting in there doing digital circuits and stuff like that, putting circuits together, learning Ohm's law and all these different things. I was like, oh yeah, this is it. Start doing a little programming with Mr. Grawl and stuff like that. It wasn't huge programming, but it was some programming. It's kind of like intriguing my mind more like, okay, yeah, electronic engineer or computer engineer, that's the route that I'm gonna go. So once I go to college, like when I was looking for colleges to go to, I wasn't gonna go to Cookman, but they had a computer engineering um, program. So I was like, okay. I looked up computer engineering. I was like, okay, I can use that. I can go to either electrical, I can go electronic, I go any route because it's like one of those fields where it can like basically smoothly transition to any other type of engineering that I wanted. So even while at Cookman, I already knew like engineering is that's my thing. That's my A. Football is something that, I could have got an academic scholarship to Cookman, but I was like, I want to just go. Like, you can't get both. You have to get one or the other. But I ended up still getting my Bright Future scholarship. Just couldn't get the full 100%. They ended up giving me 70% of that. So being at Cookman, everybody on my team knew that, hey, this is a smart guy. So, I used to help the seniors and stuff out there. Their work and stuff like that, help tutoring them, even tutored some other people outside of sports, things like that. So I was always like hell bent on I'm gonna be a software engineer, and that's the path that I'm gonna go on. But being a part of a team was my thing because it made me um, interact and network with people, and I created these bonds that'll never be broken. Got friendships that last forever. So that was just that. Like football was just a medium to express, either the stress or the aggression that I had at the time. That's how I used football. Football was kind of like my therapy.
Now, with you having such a high GPA, was that you getting that GPA because you was dedicated and you wanted to make sure your grades was good enough to get in school the way you want to be getting in school, or were you just always had it like that? You was just always that smart and really didn't have to study that much just to have those type of grades.
Yeah, so the thing for me was I didn't really study, so I had to have like different ways of like I had different ways of learning things. So I was always competitive at my base. So, I had Miranda Mack, I had Betty McKinnon, Jeremy Ford, and all these other smart people from my area in my class that was making 4.0s and stuff like that. I was like, you know, why not compete with them? Because, at the time, elementary school, we went to elementary together, then middle school. Elementary school, I didn't play any sports. I played sandlot, played some t-ball and stuff, then some baseball. But I was like, okay, I can only if I'm gonna do anything, I'm gonna be good at it. If I'm in school, my dad always told me, well, while you there, you might well learn something since you spending most of your day at school. You got to learn something, I guess. So I took that to heart. So I ended up running to these people. So in the classroom, I took it as like a football field or any kind of competitive sport. I'm like, okay, you making A's, I can do that too. But how I'm gonna do it is gonna be different how you do it. I'm not gonna go home and study all this stuff. I'm gonna just sit here and take in and absorb everything the teacher says, and I can regurgitate everything that they're doing, and I can basically mimic what they're doing, and I can do it on a test. And I slowly and outside of that, I was intrigued, like I was intrigued by different things too. So I also was one of those kids that was out here learning about, astronomy and um, engineering. And I had these encyclopedias at the house that I used to write these research papers on. Like anything that intrigued me, biology, chemistry, I was the type to go ask Jeeves to find out random information. Or now, what you'll do now, you're like, go Google it. I was doing that already. I was doing that on AOL and Ask Jeeves, Yahoo. I was just Googling all this information, just learning stuff that had nothing to do with what I was learning at the time. I was just like, oh, why does chemicals do such and such? Why is H2O like all that stuff is like stuff that I was like already getting information on. So from the educational standpoint, I was competitive as well. I was like, since I'm in this class and I don't have practice right now, I might well compete with the smart people too. Because I wanted the teachers to also look at me as not as more than an athlete, like LeBron say, like I'm more than an athlete. I already had that mentality because my dad had that mentality. Like his teachers, Miss Raw and Miss Francis, they taught him in high school, and most of his teachers that taught him taught me before they retired. So they were like, oh, I taught your daddy. Oh, he played sport. Oh, your daddy was smart. He was a B student. I go, oh, well, I'm going to be better than them. So I'm going to be an A student. And that was the thing. So I was like, okay, I always found the chip. Just like, okay, I'm going to do this person. I always found something. Like if it was nothing, I'll make something. Kind of like Kobe, God bless his soul. I made it personal. I see they say that athletes ain't smart. I'm gonna prove them wrong. I'm gonna be smart and I'm gonna be great on the football field at the same time. So I can sit in any room at any time. Somebody can talk about me like, well, Phillip was a great student. So if I go sit here with my athletes, it's like, oh yeah, man, you can't stop it. He fast. He this and that. So I always wanted to be comfortable whatever room I sat in. No one can talk over my head about anything. If it's business, science, athletics, like I just felt like I should be a part of any conversation that you had. So that was the mindset. That was how I was able to keep the GPA. Like my GPA was my thing. That was my here you go, check this out. This is my holy grail. And by the way, I also play sports, and I'm pretty good at that too.
Phillip, man, I love everything you talking about right now, and that's how a lot of athletes actually should look at it, man. They should approach it for as getting their schoolwork and then focusing on athletics, man. And I'm so glad you did that, and you represented for Quincy, Florida, very well,
No doubt.
and you did your thing at a HBCU, which I did too. And
Mm-hmm.
my last two questions I'm gonna bring to your attention. Now, the first question is, Phillip, I'm kind of hating a little bit, man. Y'all done heard me on this podcast say plenty of times I went to Alabama State, which is a HBCU. But the best thing I ever heard, man, my first time at the Florida Classic, and basically that's my question I'm gonna ask you, is how I was playing at the Florida Classic. But before you start, let me give my story. So I'm home. I'm home now on a break. This is my first time even at the Florida Classic. No, it wasn't my first time. It was my probably second time at the Florida Classic. Now this time the song hit me so different. I'm playing at Alabama State. Like I say, we play that next week, Turkey Day Classic. I'm down at the Florida Classic. Bethune Cookman rocking this song, man. Let's go. Let's go. Wildcat. Man, it sounded so good and how the crowd was saying it. I ain't gonna lie, Phil. I was wishing that was me down there playing on the field, man. So how was that playing in the Florida Classic too?
Oh man. So going from because I listened to one of your podcasts, I remember you hit on this. So our classic games, HBCU classic games, are the equivalent of a PWI. I guess like one of their a major school that they're going to play, like Miami, Florida State, or something like that. Some teams that's ranked like Ohio State, Penn State, they play each other. They have like hundreds of thousand people. So that's our equivalent of that capacity. We have 80,000 plus people in the Orange Bowl down in Orlando, Florida. Just picture a stadium full of black people and a couple specks of white people in the stands. That's the classic. Now, sprinkle in two of the baddest bands in the land with the Martian Wildcats, the Martian 100, because it's a show. This is like a show. They call it HBCU football is like you got two shows. You got the football game and the band halftime show. So the battle of the football teams, battle of the bands. So coming into the classic, you go out there, you're warming up, you're looking at the stadium, it's big, people flying, they flooding in. There's a couple thousand people in there. There ain't that many people because, it's a party on the outside of the stadium too. People out there eating food, it's black people. We grilling, we having a good time. So you can hear all this music, all the frats and sororities doing their thing and stuff like that. So you go out, you got you out there warming up, the kickers out there, the special teams out there warming up. There's not that many people in the stands right now. You go back in the tunnel, go back in the locker room. You're getting ready, you're getting your speeches and stuff like that. You come back out, the band's rocking. Next thing you know, like my first Florida Classic when I experienced, you walk out that tunnel, stomach just dropped because it's loud, the beat, the bands are battling each other, and it's like black people everywhere, Nobody fighting in the stand. Because, you go to like a club, they say you go to a black person club, you're going to have some fighting and stuff like that. Nah, this is a different kind of fight. This the battle of the bands fighting, the football team fighting, the fraternities and sororities out here, they're stepping against each other. It's like a whole thing. It's a family reunion. You got the old heads from the 90s, the 2000s, they out here now. You got the current generation out here from the schools. It's 80,000 plus people in the stadium. And it's thousands of people outside the stadium that's not in the game because they can't get in the game because it's so loud, but they're still out there having a good time. And that experience alone is just like, it's like riveting. Like, it sends like chills through your spine. Like, the reason why I went to HBCU was because like athletes like myself with the GPA or the accolades or the high, demand at these PWIs, just imagine our caliber of athletes going back to those HBCUs, you know what I'm saying, and actually representing and putting all this stuff back on the map, kind of like how Dion, when he got like a top 100 recruiting class, first time ever in HBCU history. Imagine like top ESPN 100 players just like, I'm committing to Howard, I'm committing to Jackson State, Alabama State. Imagine that kind of stuff. Imagine the revenue that kind of stuff come in. Like, that was the vision. And when I went out there on that field, and you see 80,000 people in the stands, that can be HBCUs around the country. It's 107 HBCUs. Imagine every game having 70,000+ black people in the stands. 70,000 black people. You don't even got that many people at the PWIs, like black people in the stands. Not that many, because it's only so many tickets and so many students at that PWI that are actually black. Majority of the black people that you're going to see at these PWI football games are going to be on that football field on both sides of the field, either the visiting team and the home team. So walking out there on that field and just experiencing like the black excellence, that's like, it was great. It was amazing. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, that's my future. That is why, like, what I do at work with my programs, with the HBCUs, to even get like the opportunities, because it reached further than athletics. It's like a professional thing. Like, me going to a HBCU and seeing what we have and potential that we have and the opportunities that we don't get. And I get to like a Fortune 500 place like Home Depot and having them directly go get interns and recruit directly from these HBCUs. And they have a program now set in stone that I helped build at Home Depot to recruit these HBCU kids. Like, my perspective, that's the vision. Like, from the football field transition to professional. Like, okay, that's the pipeline I want to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the excitement that I get just going to these HBCU games, the classics in general, and just seeing like the excitement and, just all the fun. It's like, man, why we can't just have this kind of game why it have to be a classic? Why it just can't be a regular home game type thing? Why we can't get this atmosphere like this rolling? So that's how I felt going into that game.
Hey, Phillip, man. I'm talking about that was plenty said, and it was amazing too because you gave some input on the actual scene and the feeling that you had. Cause let me let y'all know, people, at these classes, it's straight a family event. Just like he said, you really don't even need no security out there. The police, they can actually just manage the road, just make sure everybody who's drinking or whatever get home safe. I'm gonna put that out there. I don't want to put no bad information. I'm just saying, really, far as the people out there, it's a family event. Now, my last well, it really ain't a question, but I'm gonna just let you speak to the people about what you up to now and the things that you have going on, kind of speaking on what you was talking about for us, the recruiting, the HBCUs, and where you're working at currently.
Yeah. So currently, I am working at the Home Depot corporate office in finance IT. I am I guess in the professional world, I am a lead engineer, a lead software engineer, but at Home Depot, we call it a staff software engineer. I have 5 to 6 software engineers, senior and junior level, that are they basically report to me on my team. Um, Also, I've been doing this software engineering thing for almost over 7 years, 6 years with Home Depot, a year and a half as a contractor. So in total, I have 7.5 years of experience doing this. So I'm up in Atlanta, Georgia, doing my thing. Um, like Mike Fed just touched on, since I got to Home Depot and since going to HBCU in general, I'm like it's no secret. I'm pro black. I'm all about my people. Trying to get things done, even in my community in Quincy, stuff like that. At Home Depot, once I got in there, I was, seeing the culture and seeing how everything was being done and how they recruit from Georgia Techs and all these other PWIs. I'm like, man, why they don't recruit? They don't have, these different career fairs at HBCUs. They may go to some. If you go to Florida State, some people from FAMU may can go to Florida State, and if you close to a PWI as HBCU, you may can be allowed to go to these career fairs to be recruited in your fields. So I was like, man, let me talk to Home Depot. Let me talk to my senior managers, my directors, my senior directors, and VPs. Show them the talent that we have. So I quickly rose within the ranks of Home Depot. Since I got there, like my light kind of shined on them, and my personality kind of shone. I dress up Monday through Wednesday, shirt and tie. I'm in the suit on Monday, even though we don't have a dress code. You just have to wear a collar shirt and some jeans or slacks. I up to ante because that's an HBCU thing. Every Wednesday we had a suit, shirt and tie, or suit day at HBCU where everybody at the school had to wear shirt and tie for professional. It was a professional day, so I kind of carried that over to my professional career at Home Depot. So I kind of stood out in that light, and just the projects and the impact that I've had on the projects. Because most of my projects are with finance and supply chain. So supply chain, all that stuff that comes into finance, my systems kind of take care of that. So I kind of met with the different people at Home Depot to basically get this pipeline from HBCUs to Home Depot created. We finally implemented it through the pandemic of all things. There was when all the stuff was going on, the social injustices. Home Depot leadership quickly jumped on it. They got wind of the programs that me and a couple people, Christy, and the rest of some more HBCU graduates was trying to create at Home Depot. They kind of, we had a whole corporate meeting where our CEO was basically, talking about all these social injustices and had a panel and open question panel, what I'm saying, like to ask these hard questions, in front of thousands of people that work at Home Depot, virtually. So, I respect Home Depot for all the stuff that they do, how they get out in the community and help. Even with they do the HBCU bills where Home Depot will have HBCUs go out and vote and retool your school. By Home Depot, they'll basically go out and rebuild your school. If you can vote many times you want. They do it every year, twice a year. They call it retool your school. But we felt that it was paramount that we also extended these careers, business wise or corporate wise, for IT to get these HBCUs on board. So the leadership ended up implementing a plan to go out and have these virtual career fairs and have people that went to HBCUs head them up and actually lead the charge at their HBCUs and have these career fairs and interview these kids and have the internship. So now we have that program in play, and I have a Bethune Cookman, one of my mentees, a part of the internship now, and he starts in May. But even now, I still go down to Bethune Cookman every year for the science symposium. I sit on the scientific advisory board to get our school's accreditation for engineering and our science programs down at the school. So I actually sit on that board with our directors, with our different admins and stuff like that, to make sure that that Bethune Cookman is always in whole, and also showing my face, interacting with the students, giving them my experience as a football player, track athlete down there, and an engineering student at that school, and getting them the different resources. I'm meeting with the professors that's like, hey, this is what they're teaching in the profession. This is what we're looking for as a professional. To kind of retool these kids to have them ready, because we don't have the labs and the infrastructure that these, Georgia Techs and these other PWIs have. So getting the funding from different people like NASA and other pharmaceutical companies to buy into our small school down at Cookman, it speaks volumes and stuff like that. So my work is never done. My complete vision is to work with different people in Gadsden County or Tallahassee to bring in basically like a engineering school, essentially, not even engineering, just computer science in general, IT, to engage the students in Gadsden County from ages 5 through 19 as an after school program, to come out and learn how to write applications, to code, to learn these IT skills that you can actually use and not have to go to college, and you can get a job coming out of high school right now making $80,000. From coming from Quincy, you making $80,000 coming straight out of high school. That's crazy. It's an 18-year-old, 19-year-old making that kind of money with these kind of skills. Just engaging with these young folks, that has the iPads and the iPhones in their face every day, to engage them like, hey, do you ever wonder why, and how to build these things? So working with my classmates like Betty McKinnon, allowed me to come speak to her classes and stuff like that at Tallahassee, even in Quincy when she teaches there, to expose them to these things. But that's my ultimate vision, to get this engineering thing or this IT thing going in Quincy, where, coming out of school, high school, these kids have working resumes of applications that they actually built using these different technologies, to have working resumes to get jobs. So to bring jobs in the area, and you can work virtually and stuff like that, where they can spend their money locally, to keep the money in the Black community. So I have a big vision. It's a lot of work, but that's what I have going on. It's a lot, but I have a lot of people supporting the cause. So yeah, that's what I got.
Phillip, man, I'm so proud of you, man. I gotta tighten up and make sure I start doing for the Q and
Hey
in
man,
the
you
whole
already doing
Gadsden
it,
County,
man.
man. I'm
You
so
already doing it,
I'm
man.
so proud of you, man. I'm so proud of everything you just talked about, and people. If you got somebody who's playing football, tell them listen to this podcast. If you got somebody thinking about going to a HBCU, do me a favor, pass this on, tell them about the podcast. If you know somebody
Mhm.
from Quincy or Gadsden County, tell them about the podcast. If you know somebody who went to FAMU, I know that's the other side, but tell them about the podcast. And if you know any Wildcat in the nation or in the world, let them know about this podcast episode, because Phillip Kirkland just represented, baby. And I'm telling you, I'm going to listen to it probably 2 or 3 more times. So I'm going to tell y'all, man, y'all got to actually listen all the way through. When you have your people pass it on, tell them, hey, listen all the way through, because this was very inspirational, motivational, and educational. And this was something that any young player need to hear, from just not looking at the game of football and just not thinking about the PWI. I know Alabama on the TV, got the helmets and shining,
Mhm.
you know, you're big timer, but it ain't all about that, fella. It's different opportunities and different options ahead of you. You just have to go and seek it and take that opportunity and use it to the max. Now, I just want to give a shout out to Phillip Kirkland again. He was number 82 at Bethune Cookman. He played at East Gadsden. He played at Shanks. He a Quincy, Florida representative. Charlotte, stand up. And I want to give a shout out
Yo, you already know.
to his family. I want to give a shout out to his mom, his dad. His dad was a true pillar in the community, as they say. When I say a pillar in the community, he has been there. I seen him out there on the field coaching, taking people home, doing this, coming out to practices, doing different things. A guy who really loved the game of football, I'm telling y'all. And you can know he out there on the field because he got a deep, loud voice. You can hear him. He like a lion out there, you know. So
Yep.
I gotta say a shout out to all them, and even to his brother Todd. That was my classmate to his brother Todd. And so, you know, it just, I gotta give a shout out to him because, you know, he really doing big things out here and inspiring a lot of kids to do better. So I'm gonna leave y'all how I always leave y'all. Keep your head up and not down, or else you'll fall to the ground. It's the Life in Football podcast. Catch you next time.
You are now listening to the Life in Football podcast. Check out the new website, lifeinfootball.com. Once again, the website is lifeinfootball.com. Thanks for listening.
This is a new day to try to get right. This is a new day to get on track. Yeah, that's life in football. This is a new day to live your life. This is a new day to try to get right. This is a new day to get on track. Yeah, that's life in football. It's life in football. We are life in football.